Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Somethin In Common. I am your host, Michael Wright, and across from me, as always, is my lovely, talented, beautiful wife, Kimberly Nicole. Hey, how you doing today, baby? All right, we got a special episode lined up for you guys today. We wanted to kind of relaunch Somethin In Common because we're going in more into the health and fitness side of things. You guys have been following our weight loss journey for the past couple of years. And one of the big things I know that I have been lacking in is the nutrition side of things. So a few weeks ago, we were introduced to this wonderful couple on the screen, David and Keisha. We met them in New York City at a David Arnold show. We were introduced to them and were told that they were into health and nutrition. And it just clicked to me that we needed to have them on, especially with my challenges trying to transition into more of a vegan diet. So it was things just kind of fell into place. And I was like, we got to talk to them. We got to have them on the show because you guys know we had weight loss surgery, but one of the big things and why a lot of people fail with the weight loss surgery and something we don't want to fall into is because you can lose the weight, but if your nutrition is not good, we know too many people that have put the weight back on, maybe a year, 2 years after the surgery. I don't have enough fingers and toes to count the number of family members and friends that I know that have had the weight loss surgery procedure and are now in a position where they were bigger than they were before they had the surgery because the nutrition side of it did not fall in line. And I know being that we can still only eat small portions of food, but if you're not eating the right things,
still put back on the weight.
Yes. So many of you guys have reached out to us about, what we're doing as far as nutrition and the weight loss and all of that stuff. So we wanted to make sure that we are giving you guys the right information. So why not have two professionals on here to help us with that side of things? So let me introduce you to our guest today. First, we have Dr. David Bowman. What were you about to say? No. I thought you were going to say something. Dr. David Bowman is a lifestyle medicine physician and pediatrician. The Indianapolis native attended Howard University for undergrad and Indiana University for medical school. After doing a residency in pediatrics at DC Children's, he embarked on a career in global health and HIV. He worked in Botswana, Nigeria, and Haiti. He currently works at Howard University College of Medicine and is board certified in pediatrics and also lifestyle medicine. David also serves as a newly elected board member of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. His business, Lifestyle Med Revolutions, which I want to talk to you about because I've been following that page. Revolution aims to transform and revolutionize Black health through lifestyle changes. He is married to his wife, Keisha, where they are raising their daughter and a blended family, which we have a blended family as well. A family in Maryland. He is passionate about educating healthcare providers, patients, and the general public of all ages of the power of food and medicine, which again is something we'll definitely be interested in talking to you about because that's kind of where we're trying to get our focus in as well. Also next to him is his wife, Keisha Sumner. Keisha Sumner is a native of New York. I love it. Keisha Sumner is a native of New York, earned her Bachelor of Science degree in chemical engineering. Very interesting. From Howard University as well. In 1998, she spent over 13 years in corporate America and as an IT consultant for some of the top and mid-tier consulting firms in the world. It wasn't until 2008 when she discovered her love for health and wellness, especially for Black women's health, which is something my wife is focusing on as well, that she found out how she can impact the world and better people's lives. Keisha went on to become a holistic health coach from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition in 2011 and became a Zumba certified instructor in 2012, which my wife is also Zumba certified as well. Keisha earned a master's in public health from Hofstra University in 2017, has a certificate in plant-based nutrition from Cornell University, and currently works as a clinical research coordinator focusing on maternal care and health solutions and research. Keisha is in pursuit of her dream to become a medical doctor and further change the lives of women. She's a co-owner of a business with her twin sister called Raw Vegan Sisters, focusing on educating the masses on how to reduce and eliminate disease and illness. Keisha is also a member of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine and Coaches. Did I read that right? Lifestyle Medicine and Coaches clients alongside of her husband, David Bowman. in his business, Lifestyle Med Revolutions, where they are raising their daughter as part of a blended family in Maryland. Her motto is to live healthy, live powerful, thrive exponentially. She's excited to share and inspire others on how they can do the same. So thank you guys very much for joining us. I know that was a lot to read, but that is very very interesting.
So thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
It's such a small world. So we had to go to New York to meet you, but you all are in the DMV with us.
Right.
It's funny, while Michael started doing the research, he's like, oh, and she has a page called Raw Vegan Sisters. I was like, I follow that page. I've been following it forever. So small world.
Yeah, it is very small. I was telling her the other night, it's just kind of funny how things work out. So we met you guys at the David A. Arnold show. Come to find out, we just found out recently that Kim and David are related. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's a very, very small world. So
wow.
Thank you, David and Keisha, for joining us. Let's get started. So I wanted to start, so everybody knows that we're currently in a pandemic. And one of the things when I was researching your page, David, is you do a Eat to Fight COVID series. Mm-hmm. So I wanted you to kind of touch on that and how food can play a major part in the recovery from COVID and how, especially Black people in general, with, you know, everything that, you know, kind of the ailments that we deal with and how food plays a major part in that.
Sure. Thanks for the question. So one of my big passions is COVID. In fact, when I kind of got started in my YouTube, Facebook, Instagram journey, when Fauci first said that Blacks and people with chronic diseases are the ones who are dying fastest from COVID. And based on my training, both in, I also get my master's in nutrition at Howard, both my training there and also with the lifestyle medicine, I started understanding, like, you know what, I think I know why this is happening. Because, you know, in general, Blacks, we have more stress than other races. Just, I mean, a white friend of mine, she was got pulled over by the cops for speeding. And she was all nervous, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get a speeding ticket. I'm like, this is terrible. And I'm like, that's what you're nervous about? Like, that's what you're scared of? Like, no, I'm scared my daughter may be fatherless. So different level of stress that we have and we carry just from, you know, microaggressions and systemic racism, unequal pay and, you know, things of that nature. So we have a higher level of baseline stress. And then we tend to be bigger than other people. And by itself, obesity causes more inflammation and stress, and you know, stress in our bodies, physical, we call physiological stress. And then on top of that, you know, oftentimes we live in neighborhoods where the default foods in the neighborhoods are, you know, fast foods and takeouts that are, again, not health promoting. And so for those reasons, you know, we already are. And then for those of us who actually could choose to do other things for food, we like, oh, I gotta have my fried chicken, my mac and cheese and things of that nature, because we like it, just because of culture, because of comfort, because of how we were raised. And so because of all that, we're already at a fairly high level of stress to begin with. So, and that's what's causing us to die earlier from heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, etc. So it's kind of like we're already at our levels right above our mouth already, between our mouth and our nose. That's our level of stress in our bodies. Then along comes COVID, and COVID causes our body's response to COVID causes more stress, more inflammation. And so now we're in over our heads. And so that's why we're dying faster. So that's kind of when I saw that, I'm like, that's why we're dying faster. So what can we do about that? Right. And so my thing is, okay, there's certain things we can do. One is, you know, with the psychological stress, you know, we got to address that constructively. Sometimes we deal with our stress destructively. Right. So we had drank too much, we smoked too much, or we yell or whatever. We don't necessarily deal with our stress constructively, with spirituality, with positive perspectives, with, you know, changing the way we look at things, with preventing stress, etc. So we're not doing some of these things that we could do psychologically. Then we have issues with the way that we eat and saying, you know, we're eating basically for taste. That's the primary thing that we taste, cost, culture, convenience, and comfort. And that's why we're eating. And if we were to bring in health to that, then it's like, wow, I never thought about adding health to what I eat. Never crossed my mind. It's just I eat what I eat, and then whatever happens, and I take medication for it. And my thought process is, let's be transformed by the renewing of our minds towards what food is. And food really is not just about, what hits my tongue and goes down my esophagus. It really is like that takes 15 minutes to eat, but our bodies are feeling the effects of that for 8, 10, 12, 14 hours. So let's think of it differently. So that's kind of my passion with COVID and Black health in particular. So that's kind of what it has been important to me.
Okay. So you brought in spirituality. How does that play a part in the relieving of the stress portion of it? Because when you brought up stress, it kind of clicked something in me, especially as Black people in general. Like you said, we deal with probably a lot more stress than the average person does on a daily basis. So how does spirituality play a part in that and relieving that stress?
Great question. So for me, it's perspective. So I look at spirituality. I'm personally, I'm Christian. As like there's Jesus, there's love, and there's like the 4 P's. There's peace, perspective, purpose, and power. And a lot of times we're not looking at spirituality from that perspective. We're looking at, oh my gosh, Lord, I'm sick. I had a stroke. I had a heart attack. Lord, help save me. And we never say, Lord, can you help me to walk past the candy in that candy aisle? No, we say that we can, Christians, one of the famous quotes is, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. Oh, but we can't walk past a donut, right? Like we can't give up chicken or something like that. Right. So it's like, really, we really can. We just don't want to. And I think that's important to say, like, for me, what happened in my own personal health testimony, I was overweight, almost obese. All the men in my family, actually almost everybody in my family is at least overweight, if not obese. And I saw where I was headed from being thin all my life to thin, lean, muscular, athletic, to having a large stomach. And here I am about to be obese. And I saw a picture of me and my daughter, and I was like, I don't want to, that's not the path I want to head down. I really want to change this up. And I ended up doing a Daniel fast. And for those who don't know what a Daniel fast is, it's based on the prophet Daniel in the Bible. He did a 21-day fast on from meats and choice foods. And so essentially the current way of people doing it is no animal products for the 3 weeks. So no pork, beef, poultry, seafood, cheese, eggs, milk, etc. No added sweeteners. So you can do fruit, but no added sweeteners, and then no processed foods. Okay. So did that for 3 weeks. Hated it. I mean, it was just like, I can't take this. I can't take this. And I was reminded, is this a spiritual fast or a lifestyle change? I'm like, oh, it's a spiritual fast. So I brought in back from my days of global health and doing HIV work that I saw people who died of malnutrition. And I was like, Lord, forgive me for being ungrateful for the 5 days in a row of black beans, brown rice, mixed vegetables that I'm bored of. Please forgive me for being ungrateful and actually thankful that, gosh, you know what? I have food to eat every day. Thank you, Lord, for this. Help me get past this. So I went ahead and finished the fast. I lost 11 pounds in 3 weeks, felt better than I felt in ages. And I'd never considered before that fast adding spirituality to my health. It's just like, I think of spirituality when I'm sick, like Lord, rescue me. Yeah. Never, Lord, help me on a day-to-day basis to get past some stuff. I mean, I just, to me, that to me is key and core. And that's what with Lifestyle Medicine Revolution, that's what I do differently than maybe other people do, is I really want to add the spirituality part of it. Great.
So Keisha, what was your journey like into your vegan lifestyle?
It was, I'll be honest, it was off and on. And I knew better. That's the thing.
That's where I am, right?
Yeah.
that's where I am.
and honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you know, it's what you apply, right? Mm-hmm. So, I became a holistic health coach in 2011. And that's kind of where I started, really getting into everything and really getting into my nutrition and what I liked and what I didn't like. And I actually, at one point, went raw And it was actually in February of all times. And I was on the East Coast, so it was cold. So, and I actually, me and one of my sorority sisters actually ran on like a little, 21-day raw food, intro. So that was really nice. And so that was like 2013. So between then and now, it's been off and on. There were times where I can remember 2 years ago where I loved getting new burgers from like McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's, anything that they had to, anytime that there was some new burger coming out, I went to go get it, and I did it in secret.
Wow.
I did. Oh yeah. I would go and I would go get my little, triple Big Mac, just the Big Mac, right? Not the fries, because I was still trying to maintain my weight, just the Big Mac. I would pull over to the side of the street and pull over to the side of the road, and eat it by myself, and did not take it home. I didn't want anybody to know. But at the same time, I was trying to do my fruits and vegetables and trying to do, not eat. At the time, actually, I was still doing chicken, but, I was trying to incorporate those things. And it was hard because at the time I was also living in a household. Even if I was by myself, it was hard to do. I was living in a household where, my mother did a lot of cooking. So I was living with her. And so I was just very resigned to the fact that, this is okay. As long as I get, the majority, of my food as fruits and vegetables, it's okay. And, I use that whole 80-20 rule that you hear about too. Oh, as long as it's 80%, it's fine, and we resign ourselves to these things all the time. We give in. And we don't think about it. And that's, again, going back to the spirituality part. And we have to just stay vigilant, and ask for help when we need it from a spiritual perspective. So it's been off and on. I think what was key for me was, or what sort of made me start to think that I need to, start making some changes or actually some permanent changes, is when I saw my blood pressure, and it was in the top number. The systolic number was in the 130s. Now, normally that would, for somebody in their 40s, it would be okay, but it's sort of not. And when I had a good understanding that wasn't okay, when I went to go see my doctor and it was like 130 over, 78, I was like, I thought it was fine. When I started making some of the changes in my life, and it went down to like the 109s and 116, I was like, oh, this is normal. This is where it's supposed to be. And that, when I got that understanding, and when I got that, really that knowing, that's what kind of did it for me. And that's what kind of helped me stay, where I am right now. And the other part of that was, David being by my side too. He was when we reconnected last year, he was plant-based. So when we moved in with each other, it was very easy to just transition over. And I wanted to do it for a while too. So just looking at, those diagnostics and what was important to me, and not being overweight was important to me. Keep not being on high blood pressure medication in my 40s or 50s or 60s. That was motivation for me to transition over and stay this way.
So for the listeners that may not know, can you explain raw vegan? Good question. So the raw vegan part, actually, well, I'll say this. Raw vegan it's part of me and my sister's name. Mm-hmm. I was the raw part. Kenya was the vegan part. So that was that part. So I'll say that. I'll put that aside. However, there might be a term out there that is called raw vegan. Now that
really is just raw. To be honest, me and my sister actually did a live about, what the different types of, foods and how what the different types of diets that people have. And really raw vegan is just is just raw, because if you're raw, then you're automatically vegan. And what does raw mean is unprocessed foods. It means not cooking any of your foods. It means taking your food straight from, the ground to your mouth. It means a lot of cutting. If you can eat dehydrated foods, and you don't, the temperature that you don't go over so that you preserve the, enzymes in your foods is 175. So if you do heat your foods up, it would only be to 175. And really it's really just about that. It's just not heating up your food. So, you can use spices to actually create that warming effect, in your foods. So, if it's during the winter or something like that, you can, and you need to be warmed up, you can get spices to create that warming effect for you. But raw is simply that. Foods that are simply uncooked. And also, it's not raw meat. Also, just wanted to put that out there too. It is vegan, all plant-based foods that are not cooked.
So she went to a retreat a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And
it changed my life. It was a raw retreat.
And
it was
she
all
came back
raw.
and she was just glowing, and she's telling me about this raw food, and I'm like,
it's different. The first time I did it, I was like, this is amazing. I have all the energy in the world.
Oh, yeah, it was amazing.
It was, it was life-changing.
And it was a 2-day over the weekend, and we were taught how to make, because, when I first I thought, oh Lord, I'm going to eat salads all weekend. Just what else can I eat? But like, I had pizza and, granola and all kinds of just really good stuff. Like, I was like, oh, we can make pizza in the dehydrator. Like, this is great. So it was really good.
Yeah, and the breads you can make. Oh, it's amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
This leads into my next question about that is like the time though. So you really want to do this. We all have the best intentions in the world, but time and life and trying to figure out, while I was there at the retreat, it took hours for things to dehydrate. It took a day for the pizza crust to get done. Like, how do you encourage the people that you work with? What do you do to help them to balance the time it takes to live this healthier lifestyle?
That is a really good question. It's planning. It's simply, planning. It's one of the things that I do, as well as I help people do meal prep and I help people do meal planning. And it's possible to do. So one of the things that I did when I do my meal planning is creating a list of what you're going to have for the week. And what you can do is you can create your meals, and you can actually create it so that you're actually taking some of the foods that you're going to make in bulk. And we'll talk about the making it in a minute, taking some of those things and using it for another recipe. Mm-hmm. For instance, if you say you're going to have, black beans and rice, for day one for dinner, you can make a lot of those black beans and take some of those for Tuesday and make prepare. You've already prepared your protein, and you're having taco night on Tuesday, right? So you prepare your tacos, which is your tortilla, which doesn't take too long. Heat that up for a couple of minutes, couple of seconds on each side, and just put black beans with your tomatoes and your lettuce and spinach and all that good stuff in there. And then there's your meal for the next day. So it doesn't take too much longer than that. So, going back in terms of creating those bulk foods, you can do that. Like I do that on Sundays. Sundays is a really good day. You can pick any day of the week, depending on what your schedule is. But you can create a lot of those foods in bulk and take that time that you would normally take like during the week and put it on one day, and create your foods from there. And then you can package them up, so that you're packaging them up for the week. You can, freeze, you can actually freeze. One of the things I do is I freeze, rice. So I've created like a lot of rice, and what I don't use, I put in the freezer, and then I heat it up, either on the stove or in the microwave, so that I have that for another meal for the remainder.
So as far as rice, yeah, mainly brown rice, I take.
Oh, brown rice. Oh yeah, we don't do white. Yeah, we don't do white.
Yeah. And this sounds this sounds also cost effective, because we hear a lot. Oh, I can't do that. I can't be plant based. It costs way too much.
That was another thing I was going to bring up, was the misconception.
Oh man, let him tell you.
I get that all the time. I talk to the medical students at Howard, and that's the first question they ask. But I can't afford it. But I can't afford this. And I'm like, okay, so let me ask you a question. Which is more expensive between chicken and chickpeas? Which is more expensive between beef and beans? Right? So it's the meats that are actually more expensive. So, and they don't last as long on the shelf. If you freeze them, it's different, but they don't last as long. So it depends on what you're doing. So if you did, chickpeas instead of chicken, you're saving money. If you do beans instead of beef, you're saving money. So that's really important to think about. Secondly, it depends on which fruit you're going to do. So by far the best, the healthiest fruits are going to be berries. However, berries spoil. They can go bad fast, and they're expensive. So if you're going to buy berries, I buy them typically frozen, and I put them in a smoothie. So I get my berries in the day, but get them as frozen as opposed to getting them fresh. I do. Well, we can afford berries, so we do berries. But for those people who can't afford berries, then you put them in a smoothie, right? You freeze them and put them in a smoothie. And then if I went to a store here, Wegmans, which is not really known to be a cheap or inexpensive store, and I said, let me just look at the bag of apples, the bag of oranges, and bananas, and how much they cost. And so I got the big bag of apples, and I divided out the cost. Big bag of oranges, got divided out the cost, and it was for $1 I can get an apple, an orange, and a banana. And so that's my dollar menu. Right? Except the dollar menu now is actually promoting health as opposed to taking away health. So now, if your recipe calls for kale and spinach is on sale, get the spinach, right? So I look at it that way as well. So it depends on, and then if you are really tight on money, so the question is, are you more tight on money or on time? Okay. Because if you're more tight on money, then you say, all right, well, if I got more time but I don't have money, then you buy dry beans, you soak them overnight and you cook them over time, right? If you have less time, you buy the canned beans, and because time is more important to you right now than money. So it depends on how you choose to look at it. And there have been some studies that have been done where, like one study was done by Geico. It was a study where they took people who were overweight and or had type 2 diabetes and randomized them to regular diet or a plant-based diet. And they found that the plant-based diet actually costs less. So it depends on how you do it, though. If you say, I have to have fresh, organic strawberries, that's going to be $8.99 for a pack, and it's going to go bad like this, right? So I still love them. For me, we got to cut them up in order to save that money. We got to cut them up the moment they get home. Cut them up and put them in the fridge. Wash them, put them up, put them in the fridge, because then you can just grab them and eat them. But if I know I'm rushing for time, strawberries, they're not washed, they're not cut. Yeah. Never mind. Then they go bad. Right. So it depends on how you choose to do it, but spices are cheap. So which is going to be more expensive, curry chicken or curry chickpeas?
And you also did an exercise the other day at Dollar Tree, right?
Oh yeah, that's very true. So I went to Dollar Tree. Like, let me just. I heard so much about cost, so let me just, because I think Dollar Tree is not going to have anything that's going to be healthy. And let me just let me just go. I don't want to make assumptions. Let me actually just go. And I was like, dang, for $1, I can get some good food here.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can get, corn, green beans, or whatever. It's that's not necessarily the healthiest, foods, but it's better than the mac and cheese that was there.
Because the
right?
canned stuff is more like higher in sodium and all of that stuff, right? I take it.
Yeah, there's a balance of that. So even like the nuts that were there, getting the nuts instead of getting the chips. So it's all about, it's still $1. It's just now I'm getting nutrition from that $1 as opposed to just getting taste from that $1. So trust me, it's my thought process is, you gonna pay now or you gonna pay later?
Yeah.
And I get paid now might be a tough choice because just right now it's money's tight, et cetera. But if the decisions we make are going to sacrifice our long-term health, and we're going to have more prescription costs, more costs of being out of work for being sick,
and even quality of life, right?
Oh my gosh, don't even start about that. Don't talk about quality of life, like just actual dollar costs, like going to the hospital and seeing doctor visits and stuff like that. That by the actual dollar cost is going to be more expensive. And actually, it's funny that same Geico study talked about how workers were more productive. And had better mental clarity, better mood, less anxiety when they did the plant-based lifestyle. So, what would that lead to if I did that for a living? Gosh, I would have better outcomes if I'm an entrepreneur, if I make more money. So it's there's all kinds of things that can be beneficial.
That's why when we met you guys, that's why I told my wife, I really got to get you guys on the show because for me, where I am in my journey, so I've lost 263 pounds.
Woo!
Wow, that's awesome.
I feel great, but in May, I had somewhat of a setback. We had just got back from St. Thomas on vacation. I'm in the garage working out, and I get a aorta dissection. I'm lifting weights. Yeah, I'm lifting weights. I get this. I stand up. During the pandemic, there was no gyms open, so my wife said, "Get what you need for the garage." So I ordered a bunch of weight equipment for the garage. We went to the gym that morning, worked out. I came home that morning, was just feeling really good. Thought I was going to do a second workout, do the second workout in the garage, get to the end of the workout, and I stand up, and I just have this pain going down the left side of my chest all the way down to my midsection. So, and I'm thinking, did I pull a muscle? I'm thinking, maybe I pulled a muscle or something like that. So I stand up, and I can barely make it into the house. Like, it was just hard for me to walk. So I finally get into the house. I just lay on the couch. Text my wife, she was at work. I'm like, look, something is not right. So this whole time I'm thinking, maybe I pulled a muscle. So the next day I wake up, I don't have the pain in my chest, but I still have the pain in my midsection. We run around, but I feel a little better than I did the day before. So this happened on Friday. So Saturday morning I wake up, I'm feeling better, but I'm still like, this pain in my midsection isn't right. The next day rolls around Sunday. I knew that Monday I was going to do some traveling for work. So I said, well, let me just go get checked out. So I go to urgent care, get into urgent care, sitting in the lobby, wait for them to call me back. The next thing I know, I'm sweating profusely, but I'm cold. Like my body is shivering, but I'm sweating profusely. She comes back through the door. And by that time, I'm blacking out, like almost sliding out of the chair in the lobby. They get me to the back, hook me up to the EKG machine. Next thing I know, they call an ambulance, get to... was that Laurel?
Yeah, Laurel Regional.
Laurel Regional Hospital they took me to. I'm telling the nurse what's going on. So she was like, let's do a CAT scan. They do a CAT scan. I wasn't back in the room 5 minutes before the nurse runs back in. They were like, we got a helicopter coming. We're airlifting you to the University of Maryland.
Wow.
Like, what's going on? They were like, you have an aorta dissection. They were like, you're going into immediate surgery. So they airlift me to University of Maryland. I get there. So I meet with the surgeon. They were like, look, you have a descending aorta dissection. Neither one of them are good. You can have an ascending or a descending, So they were like, neither one of them are good, but right now you won't need to go into surgery. So I spent 2 weeks in the hospital, come to find out. A lot of this was due to my blood pressure was through the roof. Even though I had lost all of this weight and my blood pressure was still out of whack. So, I had been dealing with this for years clearly, and it just basically took a toll on me, and I have the aorta dissection. So now it's like, even with the weight off, you have that mindset where you need to make that transition into, healthier eating and all of that stuff. And not that I eat as bad as I used to, but there's definitely room for improvement when it comes to the nutrition side of it. And I know the plant-based diet is where I need to go. So, and I'm trying right now to educate myself as much as I can on this. And now I thought I could go cold turkey, but I was like, well, no, maybe I just need to start, making small changes here and there and kind of ease my way into it. Now, my wife grew up vegetarian. So, and then she's been pushing me about this whole vegan diet for a long time. But it is definitely something now with what I'm dealing with this aorta dissection is to, get my nutrition in order, especially with this plant-based diet. So it was so important for me to have you guys on to talk about this and not only help me, but also help our listeners as well. Because one of the things we found out over the years, we would kind of do like these makeshift farmers market in inner city Baltimore. And, they consider those places food deserts. Mm-hmm. So we would go there and we would have all these fruits and vegetables. And it was amazing how many people would walk up to us and say, we can't get this kind of stuff here. Wow. They have the little corner stores and stuff there, but, you go into there, they're just selling, canned stuff and cereal and, whatever. So it was important for me to have you guys on to talk about that. So like I said, not only help me, but also help our listeners who maybe, we're in a, we don't have to worry about that kind of stuff with, our financial situation. But I know there are other people who are in different financial situations where the transition, or they think the transition may be hard, but I'm glad you guys brought that up as far as just kind of way to break it down and change your thought process on, is this really that expensive or is it just the way we're looking at it?
Mm-hmm. I think it's also important to mention that you can be a very unhealthy vegan person.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
So I grew up vegetarian and got, when I went to college and all started trying to eat meat and because everybody else was, I went to Tennessee State in the South. They didn't make anything without meat in it. So I was like, well, I got to eat something. So just decided, okay, I'm going to try this. It didn't agree with me. It didn't work for me. So went back to being vegetarian, then tried to do vegan and was very unhealthy, processed meats and all of the meats, the frozen meats, the different brands that come out with the veggie burgers and all of that, and just eating that all the time and not really having like fruits and vegetables and nuts and all of that, but mainly just, okay, I'm going to make this frozen veggie burger and that's going to be good. And you can be, Oreos are vegan. So right. I could eat a whole bag of those, which hence got me all the way up to almost 500 pounds. So, I think that when I had weight loss surgery, I've lost 240 pounds and I tell people all the time, I was vegan at 468 pounds and was a very unhealthy vegan. So I think if you both could speak to the differences in that, because it's real and people think, I can eat these fries all day long because it's vegan and not know, that's not good to do.
I'll start. I'll say a couple of things and then I'll let David chime in. One, there's that idea of eating the rainbow. And I know a lot of nutritionists and a lot of people will tell you to eat the rainbow. And that's a really good start when it comes to eating vegan. So, looking at your day and saying, I'm going to eat the rainbow every day. So what does that look like? I'm going to eat, where my reds could come from strawberries, where it could come from beets, or beets are purple. So we'll get down there. Oranges, you could eat, oranges on a daily basis. Your yellow is your banana. Some people are like, oh, it's too sweet. Okay, well, great. There's your squash as well. Your yellow squash. Green. Oh, there's lots of variety in green. Broccoli. And if somebody says, oh, that's man-made, oh, well, you can go to the spinach or kale. Pick your choice. Green beans, pick your choice. Then you have your purple cabbage, your beets. You can do that when it comes to on the darker sides or indigo and black or gray, if you want to go white, all that good stuff. Look at your onions, look at your black beans, adding in your chickpeas. So that's a good, a good basis or good foundation to eating vegan. as well, and being healthy in doing so. One of the things that a lot of people tend to fall on what's easy, and so they can get into those processed foods and those those easy, and it's easy now. Like, it's been easier more so now than ever before to eat very unhealthy as a vegan.
yeah, all this progress, right?
I know all this progress is made, and everybody has come out with every kind of processed vegan food everywhere. So yeah, I was telling someone, a couple of months ago, she came to me and she was like, I need a little bit of help. And I was like, well, let me figure out what are you eating? And she started going down the list, and she was like, oh yeah, rice. I love rice. And I was like, well, there's your problem. Like, she knew you ultimately, as a health coach, I believe that you ultimately know what you need, and your body will tell you what you need and what you don't need as well, and what you need to stay away from. And you'll start to ask questions and get the answers to those questions as well. Even in terms of being in terms of getting a start and trying to be a healthier vegan, I'm a big challenge person. I love challenges. I just finished doing a 90-day challenge myself. And I love challenges. They're very good jump starts to help folks get to where they want to be. And then also in terms of progression, you go from challenge to challenge to challenge. And that's what I like to share with people. If you want to get started in terms of being vegan, and staying that way, start with a challenge and then go and move to the next challenge. But I'll let David fill in on the nutrition side.
Yeah. So let me, as I will quote from Love Jones, let me break it down so it can forever and consistently be broke.
All right.
So when it comes down to health, the common denominators in disease are going to be inflammation, oxidative stress, your gut microbiome, the bacteria in your gut. And those are three of the underlying common cores in almost every single chronic disease. And so my vegan or whatever diet, even if it's animal-based, needs to be focused on how can I address that. So for people who aren't willing to go all the way plant-based right away, it's like, okay, well, if you're going to keep the meat in, which is very inflammatory, if you're going to keep the sugar in, if you're going to keep the white flour in, and the white rice in, and white breads especially, you can keep that stuff in, then you got to balance that out with so many more foods that are anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and will help your gut microbiome, that you balance that out so that you have a positive, every day you are at a positive perspective. So when I look at this, and fiber is part of the gut microbiome. So when you have a healthy plant-based diet, you're going to have a whole lot of fiber. Fiber helps us with our estrogen levels, our hormone levels. It reduces our cholesterol. It helps with moving things through the gut so that you don't have it, putrefying and causing all kinds of toxins in the gut. Those foods tend to be highly antioxidant. So let me tell you, so for instance, you take an apple. You cut an apple open, and the open part, you could cut an apple. This is the skin, and this is the pulp of the apple. The white part of the apple starts to turn brown in 10, 15 minutes as oxygen hits it. So it's oxidizing, right? But the skin of the apple stays red or green, whatever color it is. It stays red or green for months because the antioxidants are in the skin. Well, if you eat applesauce, if you eat apple juice, you take off the skin. Or if you eat apples, if you peel your apples when you eat them, you take off the skin, and now you don't get the antioxidants to deal with the sugar that's in the fruit. And so each time you eat an apple with the skin, you're actually getting more antioxidants than you are things that might cause the oxidation, like the sugar. So each apple is going to be beneficial to you. But if you eat applesauce, if you eat apple juice or drink apple juice, then you're not getting that. So trying to do your foods as unrefined as possible is way better. So that's why the brown rice is better than the white rice, because the brown rice is going to have the fiber and all that kind of stuff. So, or the whole wheat bread would be better than the white bread. So that is a way to look at it. So I try to look at it from a truly medical, microscopic level, if you want to call it that, where I need to have a whole lot of antioxidants. And what's going to happen is, so then if you have high blood pressure, for instance, there are certain foods that are going to be better than others for high blood pressure. I had one kid, he was 13, and had high blood pressure. And so I did a little survey, a little questionnaire first. And he said he was doing 5 fruits and vegetables a day. I'm like, ooh, what am I going to be able to tell him? Oh, well, he was doing cucumbers loaded with salt on them as 3 servings of vegetables. And it's like, oh, so that didn't even count. I mean, in terms of high blood pressure, that you just not even counted out. You've actually made it worse. With each serving of salted cucumbers, you're making it worse, right? So it's saying, what can I do to heal? So in terms of aortic dissections, it's the inside lining of our arteries that are doing that. So I want to have foods that are going to heal the lining of the inside part of my blood vessel. That's going to be your foods that cause have dietary nitrates. It's going to be your dark green leafy vegetables, your beets. Arugula is like number 1 for that. So that's going to help make your.
Look at him, Mr. No Green.
All right now. So arugula and your dark green leafy vegetables are going to have the most dietary nitrates. That's going to help.
And tell them what also arugula is good for.
Oh yeah. So yes, arugula has the most dietary nitrates. That leads to nitric oxide. Nitric oxide, you'll find that, if you take nitroglycerin, it helps to dilate your blood vessels in your heart, so you have less chest pain. But guess what other arteries open up when you are on arugula or dietary nitrates?
Little sexual.
Yes, every artery.
Add some arugula.
I'll go to the store when we get done.
Because if you think about it, actually, erectile dysfunction is a lot of times it's cholesterol buildup in our penile arteries, which are smaller than our coronary arteries, our heart arteries. So you might find that people get erectile dysfunction before they have their heart problem because the vessels are smaller. So I would say, there's essentially a veggie Viagra effect, that the more fruits and vegetables you eat, the less likely you have erectile dysfunction. If that is not inspiration enough to go with a whole lot of fruits and veggies, I don't know what is. I know some females I've talked to, and I was like, hey, no, for your husband, right? It's not about the man necessarily. It's for your husband. Like, she might have the desire, and he can't do the job. So for the sisters, it's like, you know what? Add some arugula, add some beets, add some this, put it in a smoothie. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the taste of arugula. I'm not. Oh, but I had it in my smoothie today.
That's right.
Because I want the positive effects, both for blood pressure and for opening up all my arteries. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's important.
Now I have a question about the beets.
Sure.
So I know my wife is taking like the beet powder. Like, is it a difference between taking like a beet powder? Well, I'm sure it's a difference, but do you recommend stuff like that, like the beet powder? I know you put it like in your juice and stuff.
I put it in my juice every morning. So I do triathlon, so multi-sport. And so I have found that for me, having that beet juice in the morning helps me with my endurance and my energy when I'm doing, especially like long days, like long runs and long swims or whatever. I need that. I want to get to a place, again, it's the time thing for me, for having beets and juicing them. It's so quick for me to take the powder, put it in my juice, and keep it going. So, but I do know that there is a difference. It's, of course, better to get the beet and juice it. I
mean, but are you still getting, I take it you're still getting some nutritional value out of something like a beet powder or something like that?
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to take this beet example and expound on it. So is beet powder better than nothing? Absolutely. Right? Is it as good as beets themselves? Probably not. So a lot of times when we look at what foods we're choosing, a lot of times it's like, well, is corn healthy? Well, compared to what? If corn is replacing mac and cheese, then go for it. It's absolutely great, right? If corn is replacing kale, absolutely not. So a lot of times it's like, okay, what's the other option? What's the option I'm going to go to is I'm going to eat kale or corn, kale. Option is going to be corn or mac and cheese, corn. Option is beet powder or nothing, beet powder. Option is beet powder versus beets, beets. Right? So it just depends on to get to the closest thing, to get to foods as unrefined as possible is best because things work in combination. So beet powder takes out anything that's water soluble in the beet. So anything that was in the water of the beet is now not there anymore. But the thing that's in the solid part of the beet is still there, right? So it's still getting some benefit. And I can't tell you whether or not the dietary nitrates are in the beet powder or if they're in the water of the beet. I can't speak on that. I'll say what I know and I'll say what I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question in terms of is the dietary nitrates in the beet powder or not. A lot of people swear by beet powder, so maybe it's there, and it's still great for what you need it for. But I don't do beets that often. I never had beets in my life, and then I tried some beets, hated it, and then tried some beets later and liked it. Right, so it's like it depends on like Brussels sprouts. I hated Brussels sprouts all my life, and then all of a sudden I went to Busboys and Poets and it was like, oh my God, this is amazing, right? And so just like it's how you prepare it, right? But since the same compound that is in beets is actually 4 times higher in arugula, I just do the arugula. So it's and again, it's I put arugula. I don't do arugula straight. I do arugula in a smoothie where I got other things in the smoothie that improve the taste overall.
So I think one of the big questions that I get all the time is, girl, where are you getting your protein? You're not getting enough protein, and especially after having weight loss surgery. So the nutritionists, dietitians, and surgeons, all after we had surgery, push. If you don't have anything else, you need to have protein. And the binder that they give you, the protein choices are your chicken breasts, your lean meats, and all that. And so for me, it was definitely I had to just go my own path because I couldn't eat that. So the big question we all hear is, where do you get your protein?
I was getting there because I saw your series on your Instagram.
Yes.
You did a 2-part series on that. I was going to get to that, but she jumped. Go ahead.
But since we're here now, you want to talk about it?
No,
Okay.
no.
All right. So my thought process is this. When we go to, most of us, when we think about protein, we think about meat. And so my question is, when you go to your beef to get your protein, where does the cow get its protein from?
Mm-hmm.
Is it from chicken?
Right.
No, it's from plants. So where does the chicken get its protein from? Is it getting it from fish? No, it's getting it from plants. So we actually absorb amino acids is what we're getting, right? So what's important is it is extremely, I totally agree that protein is very important. Probably overemphasized, but it is absolutely, absolutely important. So I did a little calculation the other day, like for my breakfast. So my breakfast, I had oatmeal and a smoothie. And so let me just calculate how much protein I'm getting from my meal. So from my oatmeal, I'm getting 6 grams of protein from the oatmeal. I'm getting a little bit more than a serving. I put nuts, walnuts in my oatmeal, so I'm getting 5 more grams there. I do soy milk in my protein in my smoothie. That's another about 12. The serving size I use about 12 grams, and and I added some kale to it, and I got some 2 or 3 more. I added so before I even added protein powder, I was already at 27 grams of protein. And I'm like, well, that's if you multiply that by 3, that's more protein than I need for a day. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh wow, I didn't recognize that I'm already getting that protein just from eating that much protein from plants. So the question is more to me, not just where you're getting protein. If you're eating enough whole plant foods, now if you take away the fiber, there are plant foods that don't have protein, right? So a lot of fruits don't have protein. So if you eat a ton of fruit, you're not getting a lot of protein. But pretty much your legumes, your black beans or your beans, your chickpeas, your lentils, your soy, your whole grains, your nuts and seeds, you are getting protein. That's not a problem. So a well-planned plant-based lifestyle especially a predominantly whole food plant-based lifestyle, you have absolutely no problem getting protein. My question is, there is a nutrient that 97% of people in this country are deficient in. And in terms of protein, you got about 5% of people who are deficient in protein in this country. But you flip the switch and say, what are people deficient in is fiber. Mm-hmm. So there is no fiber in any animal product whatsoever. There's no fiber in refined plant products. So you might have, if you have white bread, you might get 1 gram of fiber, but in whole wheat bread, you might get 4, right? So there's very little fiber in the refined products. So, and that's what's important, because the fiber is going to be anti-inflammatory, and it's going to help to move things through. It's going to help you with your hormone levels. It's going to help you with cholesterol. It's going to help you with all different things. So we shouldn't really be worried about protein. In fact, we have a protein excess in this society. And the thing is what packages are coming in. So is the package of, so I'll give for an example. Somebody has, let's say, fibroids, and she is bleeding a lot from the fibroids. So, oh my gosh, I need something that's going to have iron in it. And I need protein as well. So let me go for beef. And that makes total sense, right? Until you recognize that the beef might be worsening your fibroids. Mm. So then it's like, hold on. So now that beef's worsening the fibroids, now my bleeding is worse. So now I got to have more beef to deal with to get the iron, but then that process is going to lead to more fibroids. And so I'm still stuck in the cycle. So that package of protein of the beef is inflammatory. It raises my risk of cholesterol or, and heart disease and things of that nature. And then there goes, it's not just beef, it's chicken as well. That raises my risk of these different things, even high blood pressure. All these different risks are involved with this type of protein. But this kind of protein would help me to live longer, to have better blood pressure, have less risk of diabetes, to prevent my heart disease from getting into a stroke, and to reverse my heart disease. So pick your poison, right? You can pick your package. I say not your poison. Pick your package. The package of this one is going to be anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. This one's going to be raising my inflammatory markers, raising my blood pressure, raising my my risk of heart disease and stroke. So, if I wasn't getting enough protein, I'd be concerned. Now, one thing I must say for anybody who's doing a plant-based diet, you must get vitamin B12. So let me make sure I put that out there before we forget. You must take vitamin B12 or get it from a reliable source. But pretty much you got to supplement with vitamin B12. But other than that, a whole food plant-based diet is great on all the other nutrients, including protein.
So Keisha, I saw that you in your bio, you work with Black women on these issues. How many of these ailments? I mean, when you work with these women, how much of the issue that you see that they deal with are basically related to their diet?
I find, and Kim kind of spoke to it a little bit, like it's the time factor. I find a lot of women, more so than, they may not understand nutrition or may need some help with nutrition, but it's really a time factor. I find for them, understanding, where to make time for themselves and where to make time for themselves, even within their family. Like, one child is doing, eating this way, their husband is eating this way, and another child is eating a fourth way. So finding the time to be everything to everyone has been an issue that I found with women, and how to work, planning meals. What does that look like? And, how do you create a menu so that you get everything that you need in a day, and so that everybody gets what they need, in a day. So that has been, a major thing. And that's why, one of the things that I really, really like to do is to meal plan. I absolutely love meal planning for folks, and creating meals that work for them, and work for the entire family. And doing the meal prep as well, finding a time that is good for whoever cooks, whether it be mom or dad, or, even, incorporating the kids in, because that's family time. Our daughter loves, eating, or loves making food with us. And actually, matter of fact, she eats those foods because it's a little bit of a struggle because, when she's with her mom, she eats, one way, and she's with us. We're like, look, we doing plant-based over here, little one. so
Is that a hard transition for her as a kid, though?
It's tough. It's tough, and she knows how we eat over here. She absolutely does, and we try to give her foods that we think she'll like. But when we make foods together, oh, she's all about plant-based foods. Like, so when we make it together, she spices it up too. So she puts a little foot in it. Like, it's amazing. And she will eat it. She will chow down on it. But if we make it ourselves, she'll be like, what's in there? What you got in there? I don't know if I like that. What's that? Was she facing?
I think that is so interesting because I had the same experience when my girls were younger. When my first husband and I split up, when they were born, we'd agreed we were going to raise them vegetarian. And when we split up, he changed his mind. And I didn't know. And I remember, I'll never forget the weekend that they went with him and came back and were like, we had chicken nuggets. And I was like, you what? And I know they were maybe 6 and 3. And I was like, wait, what? So when they were with me, they were eating one way. When they were with him, they were eating another way. They're now older, 20 and 17. And I find that they now gravitate more towards the plant-based. Now, they still like some chicken, but they do well with their fruits and vegetables. Like they'll eat it. And they never had beef, never had pork. So they do well as now that they've gotten older, but that could be a struggle with some parents who have 2 households for their children. So that's good to hear that she's good when she comes to your house.
Yeah.
She's right on board.
Yeah. When she's making food with us, we know her tastes and things like that. So we try to, accommodate her in that way. But yeah. And whatever works is, we tend to kind of ride that wave a bit. So
you brought up time, and with time, people eat out more. And you brought up busboys and poets. We love busboys and poets. But what's the average when you go out to eat? Like, what does the average meal look like for you? Or do you just mainly focus on places like busboys and poets who have a large vegan menu?
So like one of our staples. So it's funny. I did a comparison for that 13-year-old boy who had high blood pressure. I had not really done a nutritional calculator thing for where he was eating. So he said, well, I'll go to Chipotle. I said, oh, okay, well, that's good. Wait, hold on. Well, what do you get at Chipotle? Right? So little do we know, I didn't know this until I looked, that, like, for instance, the tortilla of the burrito has more salt than McDonald's fries.
At Chipotle?
Wait, what?
At Chipotle. The tortilla has more salt than McDonald's fries. The tomato salsa has more salt than McDonald's fries. So he had 2,000 milligrams of sodium in his Chipotle.
Oh my God.
Whereas I had 550. So when I go to Chipotle, now I used to get burritos. Now that I saw that, I'm like, I'm gonna get the bowl. So I'll get the bowl with brown rice, black beans, fajitas, I may get some fritas, and then I get the lettuce.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I get when I go to Chipotle. So, and we go to Chipotle weekly, probably. So, if you go to Chick-fil-A, like the chicken sandwiches at Chick-fil-A have 3 to 4 times the amount of sodium as in McDonald's fries. I'm not promoting McDonald's fries, but I'm saying I know that here it is. It's a chicken sandwich battle for your heart, but really, it's a battle for your heart.
Wow.
Right? Because if you're getting that much sodium and you have and that's before you get the fries. That's just the burger, the chicken sandwich. At say Chick-fil-A, for instance. So Popeye's same thing. So it's not like it's just one.
Yeah.
So we go there a lot. And if we go to Nando's, we'll get the what's that salad that I get all the time? There's a salad I get that's like a chickpea avocado salad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so if you can have feta, I take the feta off.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't take it off. I just don't add the feta. And so those are the kind of things that we choose. So we have to be selective about which place that we go to that's going to have an option that's predominantly plant foods, like whole plant foods. Sometimes, if I go to the Jamaican spot, they're going to have white rice instead of brown rice. The bread might be a white bread, but it's going to be like a veggie patty, or it's going to be the curry, the curry vegetables, right? So it's like, yeah, but it's white rice. But right now we need something quick. We're just going to take out and we're going to get the curry vegetables, even though it's white rice. So it's just there's a balance there. That's kind of how we do our takeout and foods.
Okay, perfect. So we've had you guys for almost an hour. So Keisha, one of the things I saw on your page, you promoted sea moss. I do want to ask you about sea moss.
You know what? And that's a good question. I am not the side of Raw Vegan Sisters that does the sea moss.
Am I getting you and your sister mixed up?
Yeah, to be honest, I have very mixed views about sea moss.
Really?
I do. I to be honest, I haven't delved too much into it, but I just I have some issues.
I would love to hear them because I've never heard anything bad about sea moss. I only hear
if I'm not mistaken, and I'm not going to probably speak too much on it just because I haven't done enough of the research. Because I just kind of stayed away from it, knowing the little things that I did hear about it is, if you do have thyroid issues, and I think David may be able to speak to that, but you have to be careful, with sea moss. So yeah, so I
no, that's great. I love to hear both sides.
Maybe I'll do more. I'll do a deep dive on sea moss.
I'm very interested in hearing the other side of that. Like I said, we've been doing sea moss over here for a while, and I've heard nothing but
yes. And it's a staple in some Caribbean countries. Absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting. We'll I have to look into it some more. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, that'll be another segment.
I do want to definitely have you in, but David, one more question for you. So you brought up how you use soy milk and things like that. So the big misconception I've heard about soy is that it has estrogen in it. It's not good for men. What are your thoughts on that?
Thank you for asking that question. That's one of my favorite topics nowadays. So. Soy has what's called a phytoestrogen. One of them is called genistein. But that phytoestrogen there are different receptors for estrogen in the body. There's an alpha receptor. There's a beta receptor. The alpha receptor stimulates the breast tissue. It stimulates the endometrium, the lining of the uterus, as things that could be bad. And then it has the alpha effects that could be good. It would help with menopause and your blood, the lining of your blood vessels and things of that nature. So that's what alpha does. Beta typically works with menopause. It works with the lining of your blood vessels, but it actually helps to block estrogen. So it's actually what we call a selective estrogen receptor modulator, where in some places it blocks estrogen, and in some places it's pro-estrogen. So it blocks estrogen at the breast. So we're not going to get man boobs.
That's why I brought that up as I was researching.
We're not getting man boobs.
You don't do soy products because you make you get man boobs.
Right. So A, you don't get man boobs. B, those who do have boobs actually will have less occurrence of breast cancer, less recurrence of breast cancer, and less spread and less death from breast cancer. So it actually is beneficial for women for breast cancer. Now, if you eat like 14 servings a day, maybe you start getting more of the alpha stimulation. But for most people, the beta, if you do 1 or 2 glasses of soy milk a day, or some tofu or some edamame or what have you, then you will actually be helping your chance of survival with breast cancer and things of that nature. So it is not, it's an anti-estrogen in some areas, There's also an area where it also helps to block the conversion of estrogen to testosterone as well. So it's actually beneficial for men as well. So in fact, if I believe correctly, soy intake is associated with reduced risk of prostate cancer. So that's important to keep as well.
So men, you've heard it here.
Yeah,
Soy products are not going to give you man boobs. It's not going to lower your testosterone.
Correct. So from my life, I had not in the past. I avoided soy for many reasons, and it's basically based on ignorance. I just didn't know. And now that I know what I know about soy, I'm like, thumbs up on it. So it's good for your cholesterol. It's good in so many different areas that we do soy on a regular basis. In fact, I've chosen soy milk, and in fact, the reason I like soy milk, I was doing almond milk all the time, but almond milk doesn't have protein. And so for me, being plant-based and not being concerned about how much protein I'm getting, I choose to do soy milk more because it does have the protein.
Now, I used to do almond milk a lot of recently doing oat milk. What are your thoughts on oat milk?
I like it. Yeah. I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm. I like it better than almond milk, so I've been doing more. And I stayed away from the soy on all the misconceptions. So again,
there's some
incorporate them back.
Bring it back. And then of course, soy is also a good way to have more of a meaty substance in your food as well. It adds another source of protein. And so we do edamame. One of our quick meals that we do a lot here is we steam some edamame, we microwave a baked potato, and then we have some steamed broccoli. And that's kind of on our quick, oh my gosh, we only have 10 minutes to cook a meal before my dog has to go to bed or whatever, or get her ready to go to bed. That's one of our quick go-to meals. Is the edamame, the steamed edamame, the microwave baked potato, microwave sweet potato, and the broccoli.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've since I started getting back into weightlifting and all of that stuff, it's interesting how many bodybuilders and powerlifters that I run into that are vegan and plant-based. And that was always the biggest misconception, that you needed to be these big meat eaters and all of this stuff to get all this protein to be big and strong. But a lot of them are vegan and plant-based now.
Yeah, there's a very good documentary that can tell you way more than I could about it. It's called Game Changers. Yeah. It's on the plant-based athletes. There's a book that I just read as well called The Plant-Based Athlete. And it talks about people who are both, sprinters, so need power, quick power, people who are weightlifters, football players, a lot of them who have gone plant-based. And your recovery time is actually a lot quicker because the foods you're eating are typically anti-inflammatory. And part of why you have all that soreness is because of inflammation. So you can actually recover faster. If you can recover faster, you can do more. In fact, you can actually get more energy out of every oxygen molecule. So you can actually have more energy out of every oxygen molecule when you have a whole lot of plant foods. So actually, it's a great thing to incorporate, plant foods in your life. And again, I'm going to focus on predominantly whole plant foods, not just plant foods, because I love my Swedish fish. Swedish fish are vegan, and so it's important. So it's important to have the whole plant food.
It's just certain things in moderation, right? You can have
and keep in mind, my view on moderation is I don't want a moderate stroke.
Okay.
I don't want a moderate heart attack. I survived my stroke. I have a little bit of facial weakness and stuff like that, but I don't have a I had a moderate stroke. I don't want a moderate stroke, right? I don't want a moderate heart attack. So there are different ways that people can go to the plant-based lifestyle. You can go gradually, you can go quickly. The advantage of doing with Lifestyle Medicine Revolution, you didn't see it on the page because I'm thinking we'll post it today. We're going to do a Daniel fast starting November 1st. And so one of the ways to kind of get that going is with the fast. And the thing I like about the fast is quickly you see how good you can feel. If you kind of gradually inch over. You may not see enough results, and then you kind of say, forget it, I'm going to go back. But if you go over all the way quickly, and especially in my mind, using the spirituality to get you there and to keep you there, then it's like, oh my gosh, like for instance, I had constipation so bad, I had to have surgery because I was straining too much and I had all kinds of changes. So when I did the Daniel fast, I was like, oh my God, I had a bowel movement twice a day. Is this diarrhea? What is this? I'm usually having, if I had twice a week of a bowel movement, that was a great week in the past. And so now I'm doing twice a day. I'm like, what the? I didn't know that was possible. And then I was using Malox and Mylanta and Pepto and Tums and Lactate and all these different things to try to get my stomach right. And within weeks, my stomach was perfect. Mm-hmm. So what I understood was I am fearfully and wonderfully made, but my lifestyle sucked. Hmm. So we got my lifestyle in order. If you go down to Genesis chapter 1 talks about, we have dominion over the animals and dominion over this. It doesn't say eat them. It just says have dominion over them, right? So what that means is if I say I can't give up chicken, well, I should have dominion over chicken. Chicken shouldn't have dominion over me, right? Mm. So that's that's the way it should be. It talks about eating fruits and vegetables, in the first chapter of Genesis. So if I go back to that, then I'm giving my body what it needs to heal itself. And then I can see that I truly am fearfully and wonderfully made. And that, when diseases pop up, that, when the high blood pressure pops up, it's like, okay, these foods are going to lower my blood pressure. These foods are going to not just lower my blood pressure, they're going to increase my my exercise capacity. They're going to help reduce my risk of cancer. It's going to help me with this. Now, I'll say this, unseasoned chickpeas are gross. Just like unseasoned chicken is gross. Right. So you got to add flavor. But guess what? Except for salt, all those spices are health promoting. So spice it up, And so that's kind of my take.
Well, I don't think it's a better place to leave it right there. I have learned so much. I had a book full of questions, and hopefully we can have you guys back later.
I'd love to come back. Yeah, it's been great.
Go through the rest of them.
This was very helpful for me.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm doing Ironman next year.
Yeah.
And so this is technically off season, so there's not many races. I'm doing the Bay Bridge run in October, and I might do like a turkey trot or something, but no real races this season. So I feel this is where I was going to really focus on my nutrition and try to figure out what works for me as far as being a former bariatric patient and being plant-based. It's difficult, and to be able to swim 1.5 miles, bike 56 miles, and run a half marathon all in one day to try to be able to fuel myself and not end my life on that course. So It was very helpful. Definitely going to be doing some more research and reaching out to you guys again because, I'm going to need some help.
Read that book, the Plant-Based Athlete.
Yeah,
they talked about that Ironman competitions. They talked about the Plant-Based Athlete. I can't remember the author's names, but read the book called Plant-Based Athlete.
Write it down.
All right, David and Keisha, we thank you guys so much for your. I'm motivated. I feel really good. I needed this, so thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
He's gonna have some arugula tonight.
Okay.
He's gonna have some arugula tonight.
So it was definitely a blessing that we were able to meet you guys. Like I said, it's been quite the journey. Like I said, I had got content there for a while after I lost all the weight. I'm like, I'm good now. And then God just has to give you a sign that, hey, you need to take that next step and keep this process moving. So like I said, with the aortic dissection, I'm doing fine now. It's stable, but I definitely know that, the nutrition plays a big side of it. And they're telling me, hey, eventually down the line, you might need surgery, but, if there's ways to avoid that and to help with that process, then that's what I need to do to make sure, because nobody wants to get their chest cracked open and get this. Yeah, so luckily it's been stable, but I do, like I said, I know the nutrition side of it is going to be a major part of where I'm going to be in the next few years down the road. So I appreciate you. I will definitely be reaching out to you with more questions and things that, will definitely keep me on the right path to keep this journey going. So, when that next fast comes up, definitely let me know when you do that. And I will definitely be participating in that as well.
Awesome.
So thank you guys again. Oh, go ahead.
I'm inspired by you guys.
Yeah.
Keep up the great work, both with the podcast and with your own health journeys. So I'm inspired by you guys.
Yeah, we started this show kind of just us talking about whatever, but as we've been on this health journey, it's just been amazing. We were doing this for, our health, but the amount of people that have reached out to us and that are inspired and all of this stuff, like, we got to do something different with this.
Absolutely.
We got to drive it in another direction. People are looking at us and taking notes from us and reaching out to us. Oh, you guys are awesome. You guys are inspiring us. That was never the initial goal when we started. It was just to try to live longer and be here for our kids. Our kids are grown for the most part. So we're about to be empty nesters here pretty soon. But, no matter how old they get, they still need you around. We're spending more money now with them being grown than they were when they were kids. So.
I know, right?
So it's been quite the journey, but we, with everything that happened with her dad, it kind of motivated us to get things going in the right direction. So, we are very thankful for you guys, and we will definitely be learning more from you as we go along. So, and now that you guys, we know you like busboys and poets, maybe we can take you guys to dinner, get some Brussels sprouts.
Great.
That would be awesome.
Make it a date.
Yeah.
Make it a date.
All right. Thank you guys so much, ladies and gentlemen. This was Something in Common. We thank you guys for joining us. David and Keisha, thank you guys so much as well. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.
All right. Sounds great.
Bye.
Thanks.